Every other NFL dynasty eventually crumbles, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have defied gravity for half a century, an unbroken chain of consistent winning that defies logical explanation. A franchise built not on fleeting superstars, but on something far more enduring, far more elemental. The forging grounds, city, and early roots. Understand this: to grasp the Steelers, you must first grasp Pittsburgh itself. This isn't just a city, it's a crucible. A place carved from grit and soot, where rivers converge like powerful arteries, and the sky once glowed orange from the blast furnaces. Steel was more than an industry here, it was the heartbeat, the very DNA of its people. When the mills hummed, the city thrived. When they struggled, the city toughened. This unyielding spirit, this relentless work ethic, seeped into every fiber of the Pittsburgh Steelers from their very inception. They weren't just a football team, they were the city's living, breathing avatar, reflecting its triumphs and its struggles on the gridiron. Art Rooney Sr., the chief, a man whose very handshake told tales of strength and integrity, founded this team in 1933 amidst the Great Depression. For decades they were the NFL's lovable losers, a perennial punching bag, yet Rooney never wavered. He understood the soul of his city. He knew that true strength wasn't just about winning, but about enduring. He built a foundation of character, a refusal to surrender, even when victories were scarce. The players he brought in, though often outmatched, embodied that same blue-collar fight, a willingness to work harder, to hit harder, to never back down. They were pioneers of a nascent league, forging their identity one hard-fought yard at a time, echoing the steelworkers who toiled just blocks away. It's a powerful testament to their unique identity that the Steelers are the only NFL team to have their logo on just one side of their helmet, a visual quirk that silently shouts, "We're different, we forge our own path." This wasn't some marketing gimmick. It was an organic expression of a team finding its voice, its power, in an era of relentless toil and relentless hope. The early struggles weren't defeats. They were tempering fires, hardening the team's resolve, preparing it for the glory that would eventually erupt from the industrial heartland. The architect of iron, Chuck Noll, and the draft. Then came 1969. The year everything changed. Not with a splash, but with a quiet, revolutionary resolve. Art Rooney hired Chuck Noll, a man with the unassuming demeanor of a professor but the tactical brilliance of a military general. Noll arrived in Pittsburgh and saw not just a team, but a blank canvas, a dormant giant awaiting activation. His approach was surgical, systematic. He didn't just want talent, he wanted character, intelligence, and an insatiable desire to learn and improve. He famously preached, "Whatever it takes, you do it." This wasn't just a slogan, it was a blueprint for dominance. Noll's genius lay not just in coaching, but in scouting. He understood that the draft was the lifeblood of a sustained dynasty, especially in a city that valued homegrown talent over glitzy free agency. What followed was arguably the greatest drafting spree in NFL history. In a single 4-year span, from 1969 to 1972, Noll and the Steelers drafted Terry Bradshaw, Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Mel Blount, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, and John Stallworth. Think about that for a moment. 9 future Hall of Famers, the core of a dynasty, all brought in through the draft. It was an alchemical feat, turning raw potential into pure gold. Bradshaw, a quarterback with a cannon arm but a raw edge; Green, a defensive tackle whose ferocity became legend; Ham and Lambert, linebackers who redefined toughness; Blount, a cornerback whose physical play changed the game. These weren't just players. They were embodiments of Pittsburgh's spirit, each a diamond unearthed from the rough, honed by Noll's unwavering discipline and vision. They learned his system, his philosophy, his relentless pursuit of perfection. They bought in. And as they did, the entire city rallied, sensing a new era dawning, a championship forged not in the boardrooms, but on the practice fields of Latrobe, in the brutal crucible of two-a-days, under the watchful, demanding eye of Chuck Noll. The unbreakable wall, the steel curtain era. What Noll built was more than a team, it was a phenomenon. The steel curtain, defense of the 1970s, wasn't just a clever nickname, It was a prophecy fulfilled. Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, L.C. Greenwood, Mel Blount, these weren't just names, they were mythological figures of gridiron brutality. They didn't just stop offenses, they demoralized them, shattered them, made quarterbacks see ghosts. Their physical dominance was unprecedented, their mental toughness unbreakable. They played with a collective rage, an almost primal fury that echoed the roar of the blast furnaces that had defined their city. They held opponents to historically low points, delivered crushing blows, and created turnovers with predatory precision. In an era when running the ball was king, they dared you to try. In 1976, after an 0-4 start, the Steel Curtain unleashed a fury rarely seen, allowing only 28 points in their final 9 games, including 5 shutouts. 5. It was a collective act of will, a defiant roar from a team that refused to yield. This was power football taken to its absolute extreme, a philosophy that valued every inch, every tackle, every moment of sustained pressure. They weren't just winning games, they were imposing their will, embedding their identity into the very fabric of the NFL. Their 4 Super Bowl victories in a 6-year span, 1975, 1976, 1979, 1980, weren't just triumphs, they were declarations. They were proof that toughness, unity, and unwavering determination could create an empire. It's truly fascinating to note that for many decades, the Steelers had a strict, no cheerleaders, policy, firmly believing their passionate, blue-collar fan base was all the energy and spectacle they needed. This wasn't a cost-saving measure, it was a philosophical stance, reinforcing the idea that the game itself, the hard-nosed play, and the roar of the crowd were sufficient. This decision underscored a profound trust in their own identity, and the symbiotic relationship they shared with the city that adored them. It was a clear, unambiguous statement: our strength comes from within, from our character, and from our connection to the people. Enduring the ember, the transition years. But no dynasty lasts forever, right? The 1980s saw the Steel Curtain legends retire, one by one. The NFL landscape shifted. Yet, even in their leanest years, the Steelers never truly bottomed out. They never resorted to tanking. They never embraced a rebuild, in the modern sense of tearing everything down. They consistently found ways to remain competitive, to scratch and claw their way to respectability. This resilience, this stubborn refusal to accept mediocrity, was another direct inheritance from Art Rooney Sr. and the city's ethos. The Rooney family ownership, stable and steeped in tradition, provided an anchor. They valued continuity, character, and a long-term vision over knee-jerk reactions. Even when the wins weren't as plentiful, the Steelers always played with a distinct identity: hard-hitting defense, a strong running game, and a never-say-die attitude. They might not have hoisted Lombardi trophies, but they were never an easy out. They were a team that still hit you in the mouth, still made you earn every single yard. This period, often overlooked, is crucial to understanding the Steelers' DNA. It proved that their success wasn't just about a specific group of players. It was about a deeply ingrained culture. It was about coaches like Chuck Noll, who, even as his teams struggled, continued to preach discipline and fundamental football, laying the groundwork for future success, never compromising the team's core principles. The fires of the dynasty might have cooled, but the embers still glowed, ready to be fanned back into a roaring blaze. The blue-collar comeback, Cowher and the Bus. The 1990s brought a new force, a new embodiment of Pittsburgh toughness, Bill Cowher. With his fiery intensity, his jutting jaw, and his relentless enthusiasm, Cowher was the perfect bridge from the Steel Curtain era to modern success. He reignited the flame, crafting a team in his own image, tough, physical, and utterly fearless. Cowher's teams were defined by a dominant defense, often led by legends like Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green, and a bruising running game. Enter Jerome Bettis. The Bus. Bettis wasn't just a running back, he was a human battering ram, a symbol of everything Pittsburgh valued. Every carry was a testament to effort, to breaking tackles, to refusing to go down. He churned out tough yards, wore down defenses, and always fought for extra. The Steelers under Cowher made repeated playoff runs, consistently knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. They embodied resilience, overcoming adversity, battling through tough AFC North rivals. Finally, in Super Bowl 40, with Bettis playing his final game in his hometown of Detroit, the Steelers delivered. It was a victory forged through adversity, through clutch plays and unwavering belief, perfectly culminating. The bus stops here. Narrative. This was more than just a win. It was a reaffirmation of the Steelers' identity, proof that their blue-collar ethos could still conquer the NFL. And speaking of forging paths, it's a powerful and often overlooked fact that the Rooney family's dedication to diversity and equal opportunity led to the implementation of the Rooney Rule in 2003, which mandates NFL teams interview minority candidates for head coaching and senior football operations jobs. This wasn't just a feel-good gesture. It was a seismic shift, originating from the very heart of the blue-collar Steelers, demanding equity and challenging systemic biases across an entire league, forever changing how teams approach leadership hires. It demonstrated that their principles extended far beyond the field, impacting the entire sport. Modern Steel, Tomlin, Ben, and beyond. The transition from Cowher to Mike Tomlin was seamless, yet remarkable. Tomlin, at 34, became the youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl, and his consistency has been nothing short of extraordinary. He's never had a losing season, a testament to his leadership, his ability to connect with players, and his unwavering commitment to the Steeler way. Under Tomlin, with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm, the Steelers added 2 more Super Bowl titles, XLII, XLV, and appeared in another. Roethlisberger, with his unique blend of backyard toughness and clutch playmaking, became the quintessential modern Steelers quarterback. He played through injuries, extended plays with brute force, and delivered game-winning drives with ice in his veins. The Steelers continued to churn out defensive stars, Troy Polamalu, James Harrison, T.J. Watt, and relied on a potent rushing attack, even as the NFL became increasingly pass-happy. The core principles remained inviolable: strong defense, tough running, opportunistic offense, and a relentless will to win. They navigated salary cap challenges, player departures, and the ever-shifting sands of the NFL, yet their identity remained a constant. They aren't always the flashiest team, but they are consistently one of the toughest, one of the most resilient. The Steelers continue to embody their city, evolving, adapting, yet never forgetting their roots, always finding a way to compete, to grind, to win. The names change, the faces rotate, but the spirit, the blue-collar, steel-forged spirit, remains an unbroken legacy. And here's the ultimate, almost unbelievable truth that defines their unparalleled resilience, a fact that flies in the face of every conventional sports strategy. Despite their 6 Super Bowl titles, their status as one of the NFL's winningest franchises for over half a century, and their unwavering expectation of championship-caliber quarterback play, the Pittsburgh Steelers have never, not once, signed a franchise quarterback in free agency. Every single quarterback who has led them to a Super Bowl, from Terry Bradshaw in the 70s to Ben Roethlisberger in the 2000s and 2010s, was drafted and developed by the team, a testament to an almost stubborn, almost irrational faith in their own scouting, their own player development, and their own unique process. In an era where star quarterbacks often dictate their own terms and frequently change teams, the Steelers have built an empire not by buying a king, but by forging their own, again and again, with an unwavering commitment to their unique, self-reliant path. Perhaps true strength isn't about being given a king, but about forging one yourself, endlessly.